What's up? Welcome back to the Mind Your Hormones podcast. I'm super excited to chat about this because I know so many of you, maybe you specifically, obviously listening to this, have wondered this before, and this is definitely an issue for a lot of women. And so I'm excited to get into this. So I put up a question box on Instagram, I don't know, last week, maybe at this point. Yeah, at the time that I'm recording this. We recently got back from Florida. We went to West Palm Beach, went to Disney World. It was so fun. And we got the stomach bug on my husband and daughter got it on the last day of our trip. And then I got it when we got home. And so I was just like easing back into things. I'm like, let me put up a question box, see if I can get some like ideas for podcasts and stuff like that. And this is one of the questions. So what we're talking about is, Corinne, like this is a question. How do I get the raw egg white consistency of cervical mucus, which you're always talking about? Because if you've heard me talk on this podcast before, I'm always talking about, okay, if you're trying to get pregnant, you need to be having sex when you see that raw egg white consistency of cervical mucus. Like it's stretchy. You wipe, it's slippery. Like if you get it on your hands, you could literally stretch it. It looks like a raw egg white. But that's why I call it like that. It could be in your underwear, like it won't dry up right away. Sometimes people will also, like some of my clients will not always explain it as like stretchy, but they'll also say it's sometimes watery, right? And everybody's different, right? So the way that it looks is going to be different for every person, and the amount that like has it, the amount that is actually there is also going to look different for every single person. But you will notice it, or I should say you should notice it as you're approaching ovulation, because that is when you're actually fertile. You cannot get pregnant without cervical mucus, period. There are many reasons why. Number one is because that is what shuttles the sperm to the egg. It also creates the perfect pH environment for sperm to stay alive. Sperm can't stay alive unless they're inside of cervical mucus. And cervical mucus also filters out abnormal sperm because your cervical mucus is so smart. It's like, I don't like the look of this sperm. Like, this is not going to come out to be a good baby. So, like, let's get this shit out of here. And also, it keeps the sperm alive for up to 5 days, which is why you can have sex on a Monday when you see that cervical mucus, and then you could not ovulate until Friday and you could still get pregnant because that sperm stays alive in there up to 5 days. So cervical mucus is queen. I have so many episodes on cervical mucus. We'll link some of them below. But today, what I want to specifically talk about is, okay, I hear you, Corinne. You're like, I know I need to get that cervical mucus, but like, I don't see it. And here are two reasons why this could be happening, right? Number one, you can have an estrogen issue because estrogen is what actually produces your cervical mucus. That is how our cervical mucus is made. That is why you see it. That is also why it is increased before you ovulate, because we have cycles. We have we have phases to our cycle, because we don't always have the same amount of hormones every day, right? That's why we're called cyclical women. Things happen in a cycle, or hormones are at different levels throughout the month. Your estrogen is slowly increasing after you get your period as you are approaching ovulation, and is at its highest as you're ovulating. Part of that reason is because your estrogen produces cervical mucus, and your body is super smart and knows you're going to ovulate, knows you need cervical mucus, so it increases everything, right? Your estrogen increases so you can produce that cervical mucus. So if you are not seeing like any cervical mucus, right, there's a difference between like, I'm seeing that raw egg white consistency, but I'm only seeing it for like a day, or it's like I see it like not all day, but I see it sometimes, right? Again, everybody's going to see it for a different amount of time. I do want you to see it for at least 2 days, ideally, and like where you know it's there, right? Like you know it's there. You're not like going up into your vagina to find it. Some of my clients are like, I had to go up in there. I'm like, I don't really want you to be doing that. Sometimes that can happen where it just doesn't like come out, and you could still obviously get pregnant if it is up there. But ideally, the way that I have my clients track it so that we can like, have consistency of how we're doing it is to wipe before you pee and see what's there. So anyway, what was I saying? Increases. Oh yeah. So you're like, okay, Corinne, like what's happening? Like, I'm not seeing this. I know that I'm supposed to see it. And maybe you're just not seeing it literally at all. Or you're just seeing maybe like a little lotiony consistency. And then like, that's it. There's nothing else going on. It could be an issue with estrogen because your estrogen is what produces it. So a lot of times we talk about having a really common imbalance is having too much estrogen in relation to progesterone, but also, which is very common, but also some people don't have enough estrogen. And if you don't have enough estrogen, you're not going to be able to produce cervical mucus. This is actually why in menopause, like women experience a lot of vaginal dryness because they don't have that estrogen to lubricate everything. Estrogen lubricates everything in your body. So if you don't have enough estrogen, you can experience this really low cervical mucus production. And if you don't have enough estrogen, where's that coming from, right? It's like, we have to go deeper. So the answer isn't just like, okay, you need to drink this and eat this to increase your cervical mucus production. I like wish it was that easy, but like it's not. So you have to, the right question isn't, okay, how do I increase my cervical mucus? It's, well, why is my cervical mucus not there? What is causing my cervical mucus to not be where it needs to be? Okay, well, we know estrogen produces it. So why is my estrogen low, right? Maybe I have low estrogen. Why could my estrogen potentially be low? A couple of things could be going on. It could be you might not even be ovulating because your body does produce estrogen when you ovulate. So if you don't have enough estrogen, you're not going to be able to ovulate. Estrogen also causes ovulation. It's just all wrapped up in ovulation. So you might not be ovulating. If you're like, no, Corinne, I'm using my LH strips. I get positive LH strips. And like, I'm using my app. That ain't telling you if you're ovulating. You have to actually track your basal body temperature in order for you to confirm ovulation. An LH strip is not telling you that you are ovulating. It's just letting you know your luteinizing hormone is increasing, letting you know you might potentially ovulate. But especially if you have PCOS, your LH can increase multiple times before you ever even ovulate, if you ovulate at all. So you have to be actually tracking your basal body temperature if you want to make sure that you are confirming ovulation. Also, a bleed, like a period, is not a sign of ovulation. Just because you're like, no, Corinne, I know I'm ovulating because I'm bleeding. I have another episode on this. I'll link below, so I'm not going to get into it today. But just because you're bleeding does not mean you're ovulating. Okay. And if you want to dive deeper into that, you could check the show notes for that episode. But if you're not tracking your basal body temperature, that's number one. You need to be doing that. I personally love Temp Drop. It's an armband you wear at night because I have a toddler. I do not sleep consistently. I'm up in the middle of the night sometimes. I wake up at different times every single morning, depending on, if she's sleeping, if she's not. Like, it's always like just hit or miss. So with an armband, like with Temp Drop, it takes your temperature throughout the night. It's like really accurate with that because it like learns your rhythms, and it's just like taking the core temperature over the course of the night. Whereas when you do under the tongue thermometer, you really have to be waking up at the same time every morning for accuracy with that. I used to always do under the tongue thermometer before I had Madison to track everything because I was going to sleep at the same time. I was waking up at the same time. Like, my shit was on point. My life is just very different now. So you could check out Temp Drop if you are like, you have inconsistent sleep, maybe you already have a child, or you're a shift worker, or you're just like not waking up the same time every morning, give or take a half an hour, right? If you're like, I always wake up at 6 in the morning, but sometimes I wake up 6:30, like, that's fine. But if you're like, sometimes waking up at 6, sometimes 7:30, sometimes 8, like sometimes 5, it's like, no, you need to then use Temp Drop so you can actually get accurate numbers. I'll put the link for Temp Drop in the show notes. You could use my code AFCorinne for 12% off. Or if you do like the under the tongue thermometer, some of my clients who do have a set schedule, they don't have children yet, they wake up at the same time every morning, and they like the under the tongue thermometer. They use Natural Cycles, that's the like under the tongue thermometer I recommend the most. Really accurate. You could sync it up to your Oura Ring if you have one. And I also have a code for that for 15% off with code Corinne15. So I'll put both of those links in the show notes. Whichever one feels best for you, make sure you're tracking basal body temperature. Okay. So again, number one, why you might have low estrogen is, again, you might not be ovulating. Okay. Also, the other thing could be, and let's go a layer deeper. 1 second. Why are we not ovulating? Okay. What system in our body is not being properly supported where we are not able to ovulate? Because again, our hormones are responding to specific systems in your body. Your hormones are responders. They're responding to systems in your body that are actually affecting all of your hormones. So if you are not ovulating, it is because there's a system in your body that is not being properly supported. And we talk about this all the time on the podcast. This is what the Mind Your Hormones method is. It is optimizing those systems in your body that actually affect your hormones, your blood sugar and your nervous system regulation, your nutrient density and your liver detoxification and your gut detoxification. So your detoxification method is like your gut and your liver. Easier way to say it. Because your body needs specific nutrients in order to ovulate. Your blood sugar needs to be regulated in order for your hormones to be in balance in general. Your nervous system needs to be on board, because if your body is like, I'm in fight or flight 24/7, this does not feel safe to ovulate, it's going to turn your ovulation off. Your detoxification pathways need to be functioning optimally, because if not, it's not going to properly process out all excess hormones. They're going to recirculate back in the body, cause imbalances. Same thing with your gut. Your gut's not going to be able to properly eliminate the hormones out of the body. Like, it's a whole thing. So these are the systems that you actually need to be working on in a very strategic order for maximum results, which is literally how I designed it in the Mind Your Hormones method. So we got to go deeper. If you don't have cervical mucus, okay, is my estrogen low? Okay, maybe it's low. Why is it low? Am I ovulating? Am I not? Right? Like, you got to actually confirm ovulation. If you're not ovulating, why are we not ovulating? What system in your body is not being properly supported? It's peeling back the layers and getting down to the root cause of the problem. Now, some people, like I have a client who was in the Trying to Conceive Accelerator. She has cervical mucus now, but she didn't have it for years because she was on birth control for a really long time. And she still doesn't have like a huge abundant amount, but it has been steadily increasing, which is what we want to see. You're not going to go from zero cervical mucus for years to all of a sudden like shit is flooding out. You're slipping when you're wiping. Like it just, your body doesn't work like, maybe sometimes, but like most of the time it doesn't work like that. So a lot of times, if you have been on birth control for really any length of time, but especially if you've been on it for like a decade, 2 decades, like most of my clients have been, part of the reason why cervical mucus, blah, blah, blah. Part of the reason why birth control works to keep you from getting pregnant is that it dries you up. It dries up your cervical mucus. If you don't have cervical mucus, you can't get pregnant. So a lot of times when people come off of birth control, this is still an issue for them. So that could be another reason why you're potentially seeing this no cervical mucus issue. Those are the top two reasons that I've experienced with my clients. And those are the two biggest things you need to look into. Now, once you, and again, okay, well, how do I get my cervical mucus back after being on birth control? Because I don't see it. Same way you get it back. Same way we do everything. Okay, spoiler alert, it always goes back to these systems in your body. Your blood sugar, your nervous system, your nutrient density, your liver detoxification, and your gut detoxification. This is going to be plastered on my fucking grave one day, okay? Wow, way to get morbid, but you know what I'm saying, okay? And so these are the reasons that this could be going on. Now, a lot of people will just see on Google or on TikTok or whatever, okay, here's this cervical mucus tea. This is a tea that increases cervical mucus, and blah, 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 blah. And there's this herb, a supplement. There is a time and place for that. You can absolutely take teas that have been recommended to increase cervical mucus. You can absolutely take herbs or whatever the fuck it is. But if you are not doing the foundational pieces of eating in a way that regulates your blood sugar, making your lifestyle in a way that regulates your nervous system on a daily basis when shit's hitting the fan, taking optimal nutrients and therapeutic ranges so your body can actually optimally function and ovulate, because your body can't ovulate without certain nutrients. If your detoxification pathways are shit, like it's not going to be as effective. These teas that like a lot of people will be taking for cervical mucus, it's not going to be as effective if you're not doing these foundational pieces first. So like, it's like you're trying to like put windows on a house when you haven't even built the foundation yet. It's like, well, what the fuck? These windows are going to go up and they're going to fall right down. I don't have anything to put them on, right? Like you have to work on the foundational pieces first. And so that is what I always recommend. And then sure, try a fucking tea out if you want to try it out. And also like tactical things that actually help too, because again, think of lubrication. How can we lubricate our body? Water. Are you actually drinking enough water? Avocados are amazing for cervical mucus as well. Like having a full avocado a day, half for lunch, half for dinner. That's also going to help with your blood sugar regulation. It's also going to help with your inflammation levels. It's also going to help with your gut. Like again, it's tenfold. And then, you could also, a supplement that does help with cervical mucus production that I had this client that I was talking about in the accelerator tryout is NAC. That has been shown to help increase cervical mucus production as well. But it's not going to do shit if you're not also taking other high quality supplementation that matters for your hormones overall, and you're not balancing blood sugar, you're not doing all the things. Okay. So that is what's most important for not only increasing your cervical mucus production, but for regulating your cycle, for safely stopping birth control, for rebalancing post-birth control, for rebalancing postpartum, for rebalancing post-miscarriage, for boosting your fertility for pregnancy, for thriving with PCOS, literally for everything. It is for everything, because the human body is the human body. Every single person has these hormones. Every single like cycling woman, even if you're not cycling, if you don't even have your period right now, you have these hormones in your body. You also have the systems in your body that affect these hormones. So this is what you need to be prioritizing. This is exactly what I teach you in the Mind Your Hormones method, step by step by step by step. I'll always have the link for that in the show notes. You could always use code podcast for 10% off. And if you, for like the very first step of, okay, like what should be my first step? Always balancing your blood sugar is my first step for my clients, because it gives you the most immediate result in your day-to-day life, where you feel more energy, you have less brain fog, your headaches go away, your cravings go away. It is the quickest way to feel better in your day-to-day, and it's going to give you the most long-lasting impact in your cycle and your fertility, because it is supporting a top-tier hormone like your insulin, which is going to cause a positive domino effect on every single other hormone in your body. So if you don't already have my free training, How to Create Hormone and Blood Sugar Balanced Meals, you could download that. I'll put that below. that would be my first step for you if you're listening to this of like, okay, I hear you, Corinne. I want to support my systems, my body. What do I do? Where do I start? That would be what I would recommend. It's a free training. It's actually training I pulled straight from the Mind Your Hormones method. So also if you're considering joining the Mind Your Hormones method and you want to kind of get an idea for like the layout and what it's like, this is a great way to like just get like a taste of it. And it comes with like a smoothie tutorial. Like it's awesome. So anyway, highly recommend that. That is what I have for you today. Let me know how you love this episode. Share this with anybody who is maybe trying to conceive, who's wondering about this cervical mucus, like, well, fuck, how do I get it back? This is how you do it. And it will come back. Like, again, I've had so many clients that have had this experience and they have had cervical mucus come back. And you don't need to have a ton of it. If you are in the midst of trying right now, all I want you to do is whenever you see that cervical mucus, again, wipe before you pee to track it, have sex when you see that cervical mucus. That is when you are most likely to be fertile, okay? Have sex when you see the cervical mucus. Throw away your fucking LH strips. It's a waste of your time. It's a waste of your energy. It's a waste of you stressing out about it. Follow the cervical mucus. I'll put those episodes about cervical mucus below to like dive deeper into that. But that is what I have for you today. I love you so much. Thank you as always for being here, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much for being here. If you loved this episode and learned something valuable, please share it with a friend who you think would also love it, or post it on social media and tag me so I could personally say thank you for helping me spread this important message. I am beyond grateful to be here with you. So until next time, stay intentional, stay consistent, and always mind your hormones.